The Taken Lug is a Mastery Rank 9 required sword and shield that, in my opinion, looks more like a hammer and shield than a sword and shield, though they all fall into the same category. It's just what to compare it to. It was first available from the Gallion of Ghouls event, but will eventually be dropped by the Ghouls in the Plains for its parts and blueprint and other such stuff, and doesn't look too bad at all. Once you have completed the missions and obtained the blade, the guard, and the handle, it will take 12 hours to build it, or you can rush it for 50 platinum if you want to. Reason I'm mentioning the whole it looks more like a hammer is because we have an axe with a shield. I would say that was probably the closest thing to a hammer we actually have. And I'm saying that because things like the Silver and Ages are way better than this. But this does have a better attack speed of an attack speed of 1, which means even though it's doing more damage, the more damage over time, because you can swing it faster, actually shortens that gap by a lot. But there it is, the unique trait. Heavy attacks hit a wide area, inflicting blast status effect. That'll be why it has a high number of status. Also, why its heavy damage is 945.6 times 4. Did actually end up putting the umbral mods in here, the sacrificial mods, so sacrificial pressure, sacrificial steel, for not a great deal of damage. You actually lose melee damage over the primed pressure point, but still worth it, because with sacrificial steel and the 275% crit chance that of course doubles for heavy attacks, makes up very well. But you are going to have to run Amalgam Organ Shatter or just normal Organ Shatter for the crit damage. But that one, because for the heavy attack wind up speed being 60% quicker, works wonders, especially since with the Taken Lug you throw it, and that's why it does times 4 damage for the heavy attacks. The main reason I ended up, let's put it as 3 forming and then Umbra forming this thing, is because enabling Tennoai for increased opportunity of 50% to actually do a uncosted heavy attack, and crit damage increased by 32%. Don't mind if I do, especially with galvanized elementalist in there, because 80% status chance, but on kill 30% status chance for 20 seconds stacks up to 4 times. That is 120% status chance on top of the, I believe I only took this thing to 86.8 because I do have the Vicious Frost in there that, to be fair, I just couldn't figure out what to do here, so I added some more elemental and increased the attack speed, because this thing was actually damn nice just the way it was, because that heavy attack worked so damn well, even if it did lead to me dying or getting knocked down way too many times. On paper, it's slightly better than 3 of the sword and shields, until you start to actually use it, and then start to use the heavy attack and throw it out there and deal times 4 the damage, and then you start to realise it actually looks weak on paper, but it isn't. The blast damage is great for knocking down enemies, so crowd control is amazing, and it just generally tends to work pretty well for a sword and shield. After the Tomcats of last week, they were fine. I wouldn't say they were horrible, but when it comes to the Tonfas, the kind of early level stuff, whereas the Taken Lug, for a sword and shield, not being that many of them again, it fell into the realm of its own. I would love to compare it to other ones, but really, it's not worth it. Because, well, the Prime version of the Silver and Ages, you wouldn't really have the point you get these from the Ghouls on the Plains of Eidolon. Which means you would have to instantly say, well, these are better because you should do these before you get that Prime weapon. You don't have to, but it would make sense to do these before you get that in the time scale of actually playing through Warframe. If you already have the Silver and Ages, well, I don't really need to say it. All other swords and shields are basically mastery fodder. Depending on how you want to run your sword and shield, I will just put it that way. But having that unique trait of being able to throw the shield and it doing the explosive damage worked ridiculously well with galvanized elementalist, because it increased the status damage by 80%, and because I was running melee only, melee kills having the 30% status chance for 20 seconds that stacked up to 4 times, this thing was basically doing an extra 120% status chance constantly. I regret having Prime Fury on it. Some of this it didn't have Prime Fury on, and I actually put the gas mod on, so it was, I want to say viral, but it wasn't viral. It was Blast, because Vicious Frost and Volcanic Edge is cold and heat. If it was that, then maybe. Not kidding, if I swap those round, it literally turns to viral and radiation. Don't forget to match the elemental combo you are using against the enemy you are going up against, by the way. That is very important to do. But you'll notice it also took the status up to 105%, but I missed the extra attack speed just a little bit too much. But other than that, it would literally just be being picky, trying to find something wrong with it, because there isn't really that much wrong with it. Its range didn't really, let's call it, suck that much. It was only 2.5 meters for the range, so instead of Prime Fury, should have probably increased the range of this, because obviously if you throw it, an increased range would work so much better with this. But swapping it so you have more damage, how you build it depends upon what you are doing, but I did swap that out for a dual stat elemental mods, depending on who I'm going up against, but for most of the time I will literally just run that thing with Prime Fury in there, because didn't really have much of a problem, and taking out the enemies before you get down is kind of important. I'm just waiting to see exactly how this returns, or more importantly, when it returns, because it was here 1 week, it returned the following week, but not the blueprint. The blueprint was here for 1 week, until it was added with the Ghouls on the Plains of Eidolon in quote-unquote a future update. How long was this thing actually going to stay as, can't even call it exclusive, because it was just unobtainium for weeks. But with that, we'll leave this off here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.